I wanted to go over the three possible areas that I suggested for you that you could work on for your project for this semester. One of them, as Alicia mentioned, was to look at fog within satellite imagery and compare that. Basically, I can offer a ground truth for you, which really is difficult to find. And that is from my standard fog collectors that I have deployed all around the state. I can tell you, at least while they were deployed, when we had fog and when we didn't. And you could compare the satellite imagery to that information. And even if the goal for any of the projects that I'm going to suggest is basically a figure or two and a description of how you got the data that you're comparing in the figure. That's the most I can expect in the time we have. And it'll be worth a couple of labs. But in order to do that, you'll have to be able to figure out how to manipulate the satellite imagery to get what you want and how to compare that to the data that I'm collecting. And so that would be the direction I would suggest for satellite imagery, unless you have another thought. But anybody who wants to do it, and there's a lot of people who wanted to do satellite imagery related work, there'd be plenty of data that you can use. And I'm only asking for data for a certain time period to see, when the satellite shows we have fog versus when I actually can show you from my equipment we have fog over a certain period of time, let's say over a couple of weeks. You'd be able to determine how good was the satellite at telling us that. Another project that I was suggesting to you, it involves calibration, and I'll be posting some videos that show more clearly how to compare the calibration data for buckets as a function of tipping the bucket angle. And I'll break that down in a video for you too. That's another direction you could choose to go. And I'll make the data, I'm going to be working on that over the next few days so that you can look at the data and actually create graphs and come up with numbers for calibration as a function of the different angles. And I'll talk about that. And finally, I'll be showing you some of the work done by Ted. He's a graduate student I've been working with for the last year. And he and I just submitted a poster to a conference he's presenting at. And you'll be able to do kind of like what he did for the poster. We're preparing a data set that anybody who wants to can compare the data I'm collecting from my fog collectors to data that's being collected from some state-of-the-art instruments. They're actually looking at the sizes of the tiny droplets and the numbers of them. And basically it's telling us how much liquid is in the air. And our goal is to find out how much of that liquid in the air is actually collected by the mesh of our fog collectors. And it's not always the same percentage, but our goal will be to calculate what that percentage is and to measure it from the data I have and do whatever calculations are needed. And I will give you more explanation on that. And a few folks have suggested some other projects, and I'll probably need to talk to you individually, but you can do other projects that are interesting to you from the fog data. My cat's about to knock this over. So anyway, that's the end of this video, and I'll be giving you more specifics on some of the other videos, and you can take a look at all of them and see which one you're most interested in if you haven't thought about it yet. There he is. All right.